What is good, YouTube? Welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we're doing episode number 19 of I Build Your Teams, the series where I build my viewers' teams into the best teams possible for my team unlimited and or competitive play based on how much MT they have, what their squads are currently looking like, and things like that. Before we hop into this video, if you haven't, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me push towards the 3,000 subscriber mark. I'm sorry, 4,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I keep forgetting. I really appreciate all the recent support on the channel. We've been grinding and we hit 3K last week, pushing towards that 4K. Now channel's been growing a lot and I really do appreciate y'all for all your recent support. But yeah, without further ado, let's not waste any time. Let's hop right into it and let's start off with the first team in today's video. Coming in from my boy Trent. He's got 1.5 mil, wants to pick up Ja, but he's waiting for his price to drop, needs to do backup small forward. And I'm looking at this squad and it's a really solid team. I'm not gonna lie, there's nothing like significant in terms of flaws with the team, but I will recommend a couple upgrades, especially with 1.5 mil. And you say you're looking to pick up Ja. I'm gonna be completely honest, I would prefer to go the direction of a guy like LaMelo Ball. I think he's a better card than Ja. Honestly, I think he's a little cheaper than Ja as well, which I'm not entirely sure if that's true, but I think with the 1.5 mil, you sell John Wall, you pick up LaMelo. Bob Sir is fine as your backup PG, and your PG position is solid. Terry and Kobe, I got no problems with that. You could upgrade to a guy like Clay if you wanted to, but I don't think it's a necessity. AK and Jameson isn't bad. AD and Rudy is super solid, and Kristaps and Olajuwon is decent. The thing for me, is that I would probably sell this AD and pick up the 75th anniversary one just because he can get that limitless spot up, and that's a crucial badge for a big man, especially a pick and pop guy like AD. And I think at that point, what I would personally do is look to move a guy like Rudy Gay to the power forward position, or Anton Jameson, one of the two, to your starting power forward position. Move AD to center and move KP to the backup big. As good as Hakeem is, I think at this point it's a little bit past his time, and I think you would be better off running AD and KP at the center positions, and then you run Jameson and Gay as your fours. That would free up that spot at the backup small forward position where you could go a guy like Pink Diamond Kawhi Leonard, and honestly that's probably the best path in my opinion for you to go. So definitely would replace John Wall with a guy like LaMelo Ball, leave your shooting guards the same, run AK and Kawhi at the small forwards, Jameson and Rudy at the power forwards, and a 75th AD and Kristaps at the centers. If you do that, I think you got one of the better squads you can possibly build in my team. Next squad today comes in from my boy Hero. He says he's got about 70k MT. He badged out Josh, and LaMelo's okay. He might be sold. I'm pretty high on LaMelo. I'm a huge fan of the card. I think he's really good. And honestly, looking at the squad with 70k MT, I just think you have a great, really well put together squad. One thing I might suggest is selling Klay Thompson, moving Terry Dishinger to your starting two or your backup two, one of the two. Basically just pick who you prefer out of Joe Johnson and Terry Dishinger, start them at the two and bring the other one off the bench at the backup two, and then pick up a guy like Andre Kirilenko at the three. Honestly, I think that's the biggest upgrade you could make. AK's a really good card, really only needs a limitless spot up in terms of badges added to him. There's a couple other ones you can add to him, but limitless spot up is the biggest one. And if you get that badge on him, I think you're going to be looking at a really good squad with LaMelo, Joe, AK, Rudy, and then Giannis, and the guys like Bob, Terry, Jaylen Brown, Josh Smith, and Ibaka off the bench. That's a really good team. Definitely a team that can compete with pretty much any in the game. Next squad comes in from my boy Cholu. He's got about 1 million MT, and squad is looking solid. Bob Sura, I'm not a huge fan of Kyrie, I'll be honest. Kobe, Dan Marley, DeMar, Kazi, Anton Jameson, AK, Maurice Lucas, and Antonio McDyess. Decent squad. I do think there's a couple places you could look to upgrade, the first of which would probably be to pick up a guy like Pink Diamond Kristaps Porzingis, slide him in at that starting center position and move Maurice Lucas to the bench where you can take out Antonio McDyess. At that point, the next thing that I would look to do is move a guy like Bob Sura to the bench and then pick up a guy like LaMelo Ball. I know I've recommended it for the first couple teams for this team, and I'm also going to recommend it for this team, is you pick up a guy like LaMelo, move Sura to the bench, and also move Kazi Russell to the backup two to replace Marley, and then look to pick up a three. And the three that I honestly would be looking to pick up is a guy like Kawhi Leonard. Again, I recommended it for the last squad, and I'm going to recommend him for this one as well. And I think Kawhi is a great card still, and his price has gone down a bit. He is an elite option at the shooting guard position. I'm sorry, small forward position, and I think that would really make your squad look good. If you were running something like LaMelo, Kobe, Kawhi, Jameson, KP with Sura, Kazi, DeMar, AK, and Maurice Lucas off the bench. That's a great squad. Not going to spend an absurd amount of MT, but definitely spend some of your MT while still giving you enough to have flexibility in future weeks. Next squad comes in from Fgun. He's got 60k MT, diamond shoe and contract on LaMelo, and he says keep up the fire content. I do appreciate that. Will do. LaMelo and D-Wade, really like the point guard position. Nothing to change there in my opinion. Clay and Terry, same thing. Really good. Kawhi and Rudy Gay, again, I mean, looking at this whole squad, I don't see any significant significant flaws. The biggest flaw that I honestly do see is Flash D-Rob, because he's missing some key badges like Limitless Spot Up and Quick First Step and can't get those badges. I think you'd be better off selling Flash D-Rob and picking up a guy like Pink Diamond Kristaps Porzingis. I've recommended him for a couple teams, and I'm going to continue to recommend him for this squad because he is an elite center for a super reasonable price. Maybe the best pick and pop big man in the game. Also an elite interior defender simply because of his length, and he has decent athletic ability as well. I think he's a better card than Flash D-Rob, and I think he's worth that upgrade. So swap out D-Rob for a guy like PDKP, and at that point, I think you're pretty much sitting pretty. Nothing significant else that I would change about this squad. Again, as with a couple of those other teams, I haven't really mentioned this, you can go try to get guys like Cassie Russell, Reggie Lewis if you have the RNG, pick up a guy like Pascal Siakam for 100 wins in triple threat, things like that you, or I'm sorry, 100 wins in clutch time, things like that you can do to put some free players in your team and save yourself some MT, but I don't think that's a necessity. And the squad you're working with right now, you pick up a KP, your team's going to be looking absolutely phenomenal. Third to last team today comes in from Beau. He's got 100k and definitely a decent team. He got some holes though, no small forward at all. Centers are good, power forwards are solid, but my thing is AI and Ja Morant, this duo, I'm just not a huge fan of at this point in the game, and that's not a significant like a slander on those cards, but I just think they're both undersized. I think they're not top 5 point guards, probably borderline top 10 with AI and not top 10 with Ja. I think you'd be much better off picking up a guy like Bob Sir, who's super cheap and super good, and then grinding out a guy like Steve Francis. Both of them have better size, better defense than these guys who are in your starting lineup and on your bench, and are just going to be better overall point guards who are going to give you a lot more on both ends of the court, I think, just because of how undersized AI is, and generally speaking, that Ja just isn't that good anymore. So I think you pick up Sura, you pick up Larry Hughes, you're not going to spend really any MT, and you fix your point guard position. Next, I would definitely move Mike Miller to the backup 2 and sell Jimmy Butler. As much as I like him, and I do think he's a really solid card, I think you're better off selling him, and then you have probably at that point close to around 150k MT, and then you look to upgrade the small forward position, both your starters and your bench, with a guy like Andre Kirilenko at the starting small forward, and then off the bench you have some flexibility. You can go a more budget option, or that's kind of tough. Maybe a Pink Diamond Rudy Gay. I think that'd be a good option potentially. Pink Diamond Jaylen Brown, if you have him from the moments of the week, is a free option. It's great. Again, you can pursue a guy like Reggie Lewis or Cassie Russell as well to put at the 2, and then you could move a guy like Mike Miller back to the 3. And then Boris Diaw, I think he's solid. You could upgrade to a Diamond Josh Smith. I think Diamond Josh Smith would be a nice little upgrade to throw in right there. Not going to cost you much MT again, and I think you could throw him in there as well. So definitely, if you make some upgrades to your point guard position with some of those cheap budget options, same thing with your small forward position with a guy like AK, and then maybe a free option at the backup small forward or at the shooting guard position while leaving Mike Miller at the small forward, and then upgrading to a guy like Josh Smith at power forward, your team is going to be looking significantly better. Second to last team for today comes in from my boy Trent, 750 to 800k MT. He's trying to build the best 10 men he can, looking for guys like AD, Kristaps, LaMelo. Yeah, so buys for me personally, definitely at the PG position, LaMelo. I think that's a big one. Spend about a 200k, get the best point guard in the game. Your PG position is going to be looking incredible. Reggie and Kobe is great. Kawhi and Terry, same thing. Siakam and AK is great. And then you have that hole at the center position. But you have Yao. So I'm going to be completely honest. I think for the time being, you know what? I'm going to recommend a way that you can actually free up a little bit more MT, and that way is to slide Cassie Russell to your backup shooting guard position and sell Kobe Bryant. I think you do that, you free up that little bit more MT by doing that, and then you slot in Yao at your backup center position instead of Maurice Lucas, and you throw in a guy like Kristaps Porzingis, or even AD if you want to spend the big bucks at that starting center position. One of those two guys. I think if you're running AD or KP as well as Yao as your centers, and you do pick up LaMelo and then move Cassie here and sell Kobe, I think your team's going to be looking great, and you're not going to have spent ridiculous amount of MT at all. Final team today comes in from He Sold. He says he's on current. Everyone is badged. He has about 500 KMT. Bob Sura, Penny Hardaway, really solid. Reggie and Cassie Russell, same thing. Dan Marley and DeMar, not the best, but not the worst at all. Pascal and Anton is super good, and Maurice Lucas and DeAndre Ayton definitely can hold it down. I will say the small forward position is definitely your weakest position. I think take out a guy like Dan Marley, move DeMar to that backup 3, and pick up a guy like Andre Kirilenko. I've recommended him a few times this video, but that is because he is one of the best couple small forwards in the game, and he is a super affordable price. Elite jump shot, one of the best, if not the best overall defensive cards in the game. Incredible defensive animations, really good size at 6'9", just an elite all-around card. So I think you definitely definitely pick him up and slot him in at that starting small forward position and move DeMar to the bench. And then at that point, you can potentially look to replace one of these two guys, Maurice or Ayton, with a guy like Kristaps Porzingis, but I don't think that's a necessity. If you want to keep running Maurice and Ayton, there's not going to be any problems with that as well. So you upgrade that small forward position, your team is going to be looking super solid. So yeah, that is going to do it for today's video. If you did enjoy, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. And if you want to be involved in a future episode of an I Build Your Teams video, make sure you follow me on Twitter as well. Link is always down in the description below, and be on the lookout for a tweet about this series on Friday nights. But yeah, like I said, it's gonna do it for the video. Hope you all did enjoy, and if you, well, I already said that, but I do appreciate everybody for watching the video, and I'll be back with more 2K content very soon. I appreciate y'all. Peace.